Hey, folks, welcome back to the Hidden Day. We got great news for you. We are back again with Chris Taylor of Don't Let Them Burn because we don't want to let them burn. And we are continuing with our series, which has advanced greatly over the last couple of years AI Weirdness. And we're going to see just exactly what has happened and how this any possible fake viruses may have had something to do with it and their supposed remedies. So that's just one of the things. Welcome back to the show, Chris. We're gonna have a great time.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me back, Dave. This is
Yeah,
definitely going to be an interesting reboot.
yeah. It's gonna be great because like you are the master at all of this. So as usual, on the Hidden Day, we always pray into each show. Would you do that for us?
Yes, exactly. Let's go. Dear Heavenly Father, we just come before your throne and just ask you to guide this program. Ask you to open the ears, minds, hearts of everyone listening to see how close we are to your return and how much we need to get out there and preach the gospel. And, sometimes we just give information to open people's hearts to see everything that's going on, even beyond AI, Lord. So we just ask you to bless this program. In your name, Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. So, as you can see, we still have our old AI friend behind me. However, he has gotten several upgrades over the last couple of years, and that's what Chris is going to get into. Now, each one of these topics we're going to talk about is minimum an hour show. So, for this one, we're kind of do a reboot and just touch on each of the topics that we're going to be going into in the near future, unless the Lord returns to take us home. So, Chris, what have you got for us?
Well, we want to start at the beginning. And, we had alien invasion. I know that's not the topic, but it matters.
Ah,
We had an alien invasion from a person called Lucifer and or some, the Nakash, whatever you want to call it. And he helped mankind to fall. And now we're in a mess because we're living in a fallen world. And, we had the incursion in Genesis 6, and now we have demons and all sorts of stuff going on in the world. So, as we progress in this program, you're going to see where those components come in because artificial intelligence is not natural in God's creation. It's a creation of mankind and sometimes demons, because some of the aspects of artificial intelligence goes back into demonology. And I even asked some uh, biblical professors. I thought I was getting them like, "Hey, I got this information. I can prove that some artificial intelligence will be inhabited by demon." He said that doesn't surprise me because if you look back into this and that, I'm like, "Wow, they're ahead of me." So I just want to put that there as a little starter. And what we're witnessing today, everybody's excited about Chat GPT, which is not impressive to me, but it's impressive to them because they haven't really dug into artificial intelligence. When I really started to dig in was around 2015 with Pastor Billy's documentary, Attack of the Drones, Skynet is coming. And I already knew about artificial intelligence, but that one opened up my mind to a broader experience with dealing with Google and all sorts of different companies. And the point being is that this apparatus is going to be in everybody's life and on every level, right? Right now, we're bringing in these pods into our house. Hey Alexa, hey Google, hey Apple, hey this, hey that, play this for me, do this for me, and in
well, I'm
some
wondering how many people were listening to this and Alexa answered them.
yeah. So a lot of people are depending on, including ourselves, are dependent on AI in certain aspects. But it's already flooding the medical industry. It's already flooding the automotive industry. The what's it aerial industry? What do we call it? Right?
Yeah, the
Yeah,
flying one.
yeah. The space. Um, NASA and all that stuff with or Russia or Elon Musk. It's everywhere, right? And it's been everywhere for a long time, but this is a higher level. So we have what's called general artificial intelligence, which is what you'll find in your phone or your video games. And this is not the one to be terrified of, you know.
Right. So
Um,
I think on that note, so it's like any other tool. I can get a hammer and I could use it to hit someone in the head with it, or I could use it to build a house. So
right,
I don't think AI in itself is necessarily evil, but it is a tool that we see representative of what the end of the age looks like,
yes,
particularly all through Revelation. And that's what we're exploring. Is not, hey, AI is evil, because it's just a computer program that has to be programmed by a human, but the ability to be used by the Antichrist et al. Is what we're really going to be getting into.
right. And if you go back and look at the World War II, Annie Jacobson's book, The Pentagon's Brain, dealing with DARPA and the Pentagon and computer science and all that, she noted how um, Turing, he built a computer. It was pretty much AI, and it helped us to win World War II. And from there, we started progress. But this was a military operation. We got our internet from DARPA. It was called ARPANET. Now it's the internet. Google,
And Al Gore made it.
no. And okay, so Google, when they first started out, Alphabet is the parent company of Google. When they started out their search engine, we had Alta Vista. And Sergey Brin, I think that's his name, Sergey Brin was talking to another person about building another search engine. It was like, why? We have Alta Vista. And so he said he wants to build AI. That's why Google has a search engine. But it's not just the search engine, it's also your Gmail. They bought YouTube, so now it's your YouTube, it's your Google Docs. Anything connected to Google, including your, if you have a, um, a smartphone with Google's software, Android, then everything you do on that phone or that you're allowed to do, but it's the operating system. So everything you do feeds Google and feeds their AI. So that's why they say that, they know everything about you, even things that you don't even know about yourself, your habits, how you like to shop, this, that, and the other. And they're not the only company, but they're one of the biggest. And so why am I talking about feeding the AI? Because that's how it learns. The AI is not sentient. It can't think for itself. And so, what Google is doing is also scanning all the world's books, the ones that you can't find in your American library. They go around the world, collect these books, pay large sums of money to scan these books and enter it into the AI. If you do a Google search, well, if you do a search on like DuckDuckGo or startpage.com, that's what I use, you'll find out how much they're feeding the AI, how much the AI is dreaming. Okay. AI is creating novels, creating poetry, and these things are not perfect yet. They'll sound okay when they start, and then it's like, okay, well, who wrote this? A child with, a brain aneurysm, So it's okay. So we got dreaming, we got drawing, nowadays, we have stuff like Mid Journey. You feed it some information, and it'll spit out a photoreal um, illustration of that idea, right? And you have others that's next to Mid Journey that are coming up, but that's one of the best ones out there. You have AI now that I even use to take pixelated images because I'm a designer, so when you go on the internet and you find an image you want to use and it's too small, like, I can't use this. Now you have AI that can um, take that image and blow it up to like 4,000 pixels for those that know what that means. That's a large size, right? And or higher. So that's that's not a bad thing. It helps me out in my day-to-day job. I'm just telling you it exists, right? You have AI that will help you to mix down audio in a music session, or like, say for instance, you have You're doing a video and you have some audio clips, but all of them are not synced in volume. It would take a lot of work to get that done, sometimes hours. Well, you can get it done with a certain program, and it just levels out all the audio immediately, right? So then now you have AI that is pairing musical artists, the producer and the artist. Say, okay, well, you rap or you sing or whatever this way. I'm going to pair you up with this or that producer. Perfect match. AI is now being used to write movie scripts. That's why we have this. That's not the only reason, but that's why we have the writer's strike and all this stuff going on right now. So AI, they in the TV show, oh, what is it called again? Invasion, Secret Invasion, under Disney and Marvel. They used AI to create the opening credits. Right? It wasn't that great, but it worked. So again, you go back to DARPA, you go back to the Pentagon, and now we have it in our public square in a sense, right? So, but then you go back to the idea of the golem, right? I know this is a big jump, but trust me, right? You go back to the idea of the golem, and the golem or golem, this is Jewish mysticism, where you would have a clay figure and you would summon a spirit into it, right? That's a form of artificial intelligence. You have in African voodoo or vundu or whatever you want to call it, Santeria, whatever, all these things around the planet, you have where they can either control you by giving you drugs, or they claim they raise a dead body and they put this spirit in it to do their bidding. That's a zombie, right? You have Frankenstein, a creature made out of dead flesh, and they use lightning to summon a spirit into it. And we're going to get this part, we're going to get into later on. I'm just trying to give you a little couple of notes of where we're going to go with this
Yeah,
stuff.
these are just intros.
Yeah, these are just intros.
It's
And
scary enough, just the intros.
yeah, and you have in Greek mythology, if you look around, you'll find it. You'll have these big robots um, that were alive. Okay, you have Clash of the Titans, the movie Clash of the Titans. You have Perseus, who is a demigod, and he had an owl with him. The owl was mechanical, but it seemed like it was alive. You go to Star Wars, you have R2D2 and C3PO. They seem like they're alive, right? And so we have this component of programmed material or ones that seem like they're alive. And that brings in the spiritual component, right? Not in every case now. I'm not trying to demonize anything or, be super far
No,
fetched about
again, they're just tools.
it. Mhm.
And if I may add, before I forget, um, this is reminiscent of the Nephilim, because if you read the Book of Enoch, you'll realize that the Nephilim, all they're three different races, the whole 9 yards. Anyway, they were killed in the flood, and their spirits are locked in the abyss for 70 generations. They're trying to get out, and they're trying to get out, and they need bodies to inhabit because the Nephilim are half angel, half human, so they can't manifest themselves fully like an angel would. So they're using all this AI because God in His mercy dumbed down our DNA. We don't live 900 years anymore. We're not that strong anymore because they were using humans to do this. Now they need to hijack the human bodies in whatever way they can so they have a place to live in.
Mhm.
We're going to talk about a lot of that stuff on upcoming shows as well. But basically, when we see them coming out of the abyss in Revelation, they're going to be looking to inhabit people. And some of that comes suspect with, hey, they'll try and die for 5 months and they can't, things like that.
Mhm.
So this all ties in with it, and we're going to be talking a lot about that on the show too. But that's where I think they're going with it, is they're trying to create bodies that they can inhabit, and then hijack the plan of God in a number of different ways.
Yes, and you just sparked something in my mind here. Transhumanism has a it's a big component of the AI movement. Okay. If you go to 2045.com, 2045.com, that's kind of the hub of the transhumanist movement. And on the right of the website, you're going to see a diagram, and they're going to show you what they show you is how they're going to, from 2015 up to 2045, that's their timeline, how they're going to use robots, avatars, clones, holograms to transfer human consciousness. So if they could really do that, can they not summon demons into these things?
Exactly. And that
Right?
they're lying to everybody, saying, "Oh, look, it'll be good for you. You could put your consciousness in here." When in reality, they're going to put their consciousness in there.
Right. Yes. You also have within this transhumanism movement, you have something called Terra Sim, Terra Earth simulation. This is by the Mormons, and what they claim they're doing, they have this network of computers and like the Matrix, and they are supposedly transferring the souls of these dead Mormons into this place. And
With or without the magic underwear.
all right. And so that's there. It's a real program. Look it up, Terra Sim. And they have this other one. I can't remember the doggone name right now, but here it is. Say something like Terra Sim. You have these artificial intelligent beings. They would be like the gods in those simulations, and they're going to be so advanced that they won't even care about the human souls that are in there. They'll be like ants to them. And so as we move forward, I'm going to show
That's
you
right.
video evidence of some of this stuff. Okay. So I don't want to go down that one too much, but we'll kind of come back still because
Yep.
you can't
Well,
talk
now
about
you
this
know
stuff.
why the show's called AI Weirdness. You
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
don't think we're weird. We're just exposing what the weirdness that they have and what they're
Absolutely.
actually trying to do.
Right.
We're not making this crap up. So
No, no. Then you have what's called the fourth industrial revolution, which is just the communist technocratic revolution, right? Where they want to pretty much enslave the earth with technology, and AI is a big part of that. I'll give you an instance why. And just on a normal human level, all of the data that's being uploaded to the internet daily cannot be tracked by human hand. You can't have 4, 5, 6, 7 warehouses of people tracking this stuff. It is impossible, not almost impossible, right? So as artificial intelligence or artificial intelligences get more, um, I don't want to say alive, but better. Let's just use a simple word.
mm,
They get better. They will be able to organize, track everything, and even hand out punishment. Okay,
yeah, I
that's
saw something like that too, where Karen Miday's talking about this, where uh, they're and some of the stuff that she's dealt with, and she's going to be on the show soon as well, so she could tell you the rest of it. But the crux of it is they were trying to change DNA so it would actually shock you if you weren't acting correctly. So yeah, pretty
yes,
wild.
yes, yes. And I mean, I can't wait to get into deeper stuff. Here goes another a nugget for
Yeah, this intro show is already too long.
you. So they have it now. This is not the future, guys. This is now. They have it to where AI through they had these mind manipulation programs like MK Ultra and others to study the human brain. Right now, what's called the Brain Initiative has been put forth through Barack Obama, and it's not his idea. They just put him up to it. I'm not saying he's a good guy; he's a very bad guy, but he's not his idea.
Yeah, he's
They
a puppet.
yeah. So they're using the Brain Initiative to reverse engineer the brain, and people are pouring millions or billions of dollars into this. Why? They want to find the soul, right? They want to know how God get this, you know, uh, hunk of junk, fat in our head to work, so they can control people. And so one of the advances they've had is they could see your dreams, your thoughts, and they can actually get in there and implant memories.
Can they actually see it like on a video screen, or they just can tell, like kind of like uh,
Well, as far as I know,
magnetometry or something?
it could be both because I've seen experiment done on animals like a cat, and they wanted to see what he saw, and it came up on the video screen.
No way. Was he chasing mice, birds? What happened?
I can't remember, but from what my brain is giving me right now, he was just in a little room,
Hmm.
and they're probably, I don't know if they were hitting him with electric shocks or whatever, but it was definitely some weird experiment, and they even had the things up to the brain to clearly to get the signal. So I look further into that and then bring that back on the show.
Cool.
So
That'd be cat dreams. We'll call that one.
but they have the technology to implant dreams, implant false memories into your head. And so that brings us into the brain chips that are already here. They're already using it on the military.
Yeah,
And
that's
what
pretty wild. So
yeah,
on that thought, I wonder if some of this injectable technology that they're coming up with and the whole 5G stuff, I wonder, we can get into that in another show too, if they're using that to control people in that sense and inject thoughts. That's all.
very highly possible, especially if everything I'm hearing is true with the nanotechnology and all that stuff. So so okay, we just went over a little bit about the fourth industrial revolution, which is led by Klaus Schwab, and he's just another front man. Okay. And he has all these people around the planet that are taking over governments through soft coups. And so they want this whole technocratic system, a fake utopia. They want this utopian system that doesn't work because it's built on communism, and communism is Satanism. Make no mistake, it's Satanism. Okay. So that goes back to my first comment about Lucifer, right? And we have been led by demons to this point in time. From the late 1800s to now, technology has exploded, exploded.
Yeah, how do you explain that all of a sudden? You know, we're here for thousands of years, and all of a sudden, the last 100, and most of the people born today don't think that way because it's just always been that way to them.
Yeah,
But I remember my grandmother; she was born in 1905, and she says it's just absolutely amazing the change she saw right up to 2001. She's like, this is unbelievable what I've
right,
seen going, from living in a house with gas lamps and the outhouse and all that to all of a sudden I can call you anywhere in the world and fly all over the place. Because remember, they didn't have planes when she was born. Nothing. It's
right.
just crazy.
Yeah. And so we had, back then we had the horse and buggy, and we did have trains, but that was pretty much. And but we also had a guy named Tesla, and this goes back to my comment about being led by demons. Tesla found out so much technology. If you do an etymological search on the word technology, it's going to go back to the craft. So there's an element. Craft usually means work. I'm an artist. That's my craft, right? So again, I'm not going to go somewhere too far fetched, but it does have an element of the occult tied to it
Yeah,
because
100%. Any witchcraft, things like that. Yep.
yeah, or what they call the working. Okay, so um, he was in contact with spirits. There's not a lot of documentation about it, but it's there. And especially if you go buy some of the books, some of his writings, you'll see it there. And so his technology was held from us. Um, and Edison, Thomas Edison, he stole some of the technology, and that's how you got the phone and all this stuff, right? Was it the phone or just electricity? Electricity, right?
Yeah, I think he stole the AC current.
Mhm. Yeah, and so they did that so you could pay for it because all of
Yeah,
this would have been free,
because
right?
we don't need any Tesla coils because people would have to pay for electric. It's like the hydrogen car or even the water cars they got now.
Yeah, yeah. And so from those eras right there, we got the car, We got electricity. We got everything we use daily, and not being able to really appreciate some of the foundations of it. We got the planes. We have phones. We have computers,
The internet.
internet, and
And
then
here we are.
when the internet started, well, from when it got into the public sphere, that's when all of this exploded more. And I believe some people say, the chapter where Daniel talks about knowledge will increase, that just
Hmm.
means knowledge of the Bible. I don't believe that. I believe we're living in that time where knowledge has increased. Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
knowledge. Actually, while you're chatting, I'm going to look that up and see what that word is, and I'll bring it to us.
okay. All right. So here we are. Knowledge has exploded, and we can go down, a plethora of inventions, and not every invention came from a demon. Okay, but the major ones have come from the occult, and it's easily proven. NASA is a product of Operation Paperclip. The people that were in Operation Paperclip came from Nazi Germany. The people in Nazi Germany, the Nazis, were into the occult, right? There was a society called the Thule, not the Fool, the Thule, I think it's Chool, and the Vril. And both of those societies were deeply into demons. Okay. And some people
Hmm.
claim, this is not my claim, some people claim that they are now located in Antarctica. If you go look up Admiral Byrd and all this stuff, right? Whether that's true or not, point being is a lot of the technology came from demons. Um,
Hmm.
the
I
movie,
I kind of concur with that whole Antarctica thing.
Mhm.
I mean, it just makes sense to me. I haven't been there, so it's a supposition on my part,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be surprised. I found the
Um,
word when you're ready.
okay, go ahead.
All right, so the word is da'at, okay, and it comes from yada. And here is the word study definition exactly of knowledge. Knowledge shall increase in Daniel 12:4. A feminine noun meaning knowledge, knowing, learning, discernment, insight, and notion. The word occurs 40 of its 91 times in Proverbs, and it's associated with wisdom. The meaning of the root term is knowledge or knowing, and it's a third word in a chain of three words describing building the house of wisdom. And to me, that just says knowledge, like you said, like knowledge, not just Bible prophecy knowledge. This
Right.
is in the a bigger realm of things.
Yeah. And then we have two, kind of a separation of religion when it comes to knowledge, right? We have Christians that we're seeking God's knowledge and all this stuff, and we get regular knowledge from the world and whatever. And then you have the Gnostics. The Gnostics, that's a whole show in itself. They
A
Gnostic
show.
meanings, the gnosis. They're looking for secret knowledge, and they turned what Christ spoke upside down. It's just like the Kabbalah. Metatron is God, and Adam Kadmon is, the savior, and but God is evil, and the Lucifer is the good guy. Okay, so you find the same thing in both Gnosticism and the Kabbalah. Just a little nugget for you guys. So they're into secret knowledge. The same thing into the occult. Every form of the occult are into secret knowledge. They want to gain something from, like, say, sex magic, or whatever the thing is, right? And that brings us to Aleister Crowley. You know,
Hmm.
it
And
does.
that the whole knowledge is goes right back to the garden of the knowledge of good and evil.
Yeah,
It's
right,
all knowledge.
right.
And now God says, it's the glory of God to conceal a thing, and the glory of kings to seek it out, or along those lines. Um, but there are things that are not our oikaterion. That's not our house to dwell in.
Mhm.
So we should. There's some things we should not be dabbling in, and that's just the way God made us. And if you don't like it, too bad, because that's what God said. So.
Right,
But
absolutely.
that's what these Gnostics are trying to do, seek that knowledge of good and evil, because then you'll be like gods. And
Right,
here we are again.
yeah. And Adam had one job, one.
Yeah, don't
Don't
eat
eat
that.
it. you know, and this is that whole situation. That's where feminism started. That's just a nugget. We won't go
But it wasn't in the 60s.
there. Definitely not. And so there's a movie out there called the Man Who Knew Infinity, and I'm not going to give you the spoiler. There is a part in that movie where the person is a real person, um, and he got some math equations, and the professor at the time in the college that they brought him from India to Europe, and the professor was an atheist. Anyway, he started to warm up to religion because he got this relationship with this student, and so this is one spoiler. The professor asked him, "So where did you get this talent?" And he said, "My goddess gave it to me." We use this
Ooh.
guy's equations today. I can't remember the guy's name, but look up the movie, The Man Who Knew Infinity, right?
Was it Planck? Max Planck or no?
I can't remember his name, man. Saw the movie one time and just, but he was an Indian guy, so it's easy to find out who he is.
Oh, that wasn't Max Planck.
Okay. All right. So, and now this is supposition on my part. We have Apple, which when it first started, there were some occult things going on there that clear. The price of the computer was what, 666 or 66.6?
Yeah, and a bite out of the apple.
Yeah, and to buy it
That's
out
their
of the
logo.
Yeah, even though we know that it wasn't an apple that Eve bit, it's from a Catholic tradition that she bit an apple, right?
Nonetheless, right?
And so, but the point is, it's still there. The iconography is still there, and that's all I can say on that right now, as far as Apple go. I'm just giving you some nuggets to kind of follow. This is not conspiracy theory, even though we just gave a supposition, but you could find out that what I just said is true. And so we have DARPA, the CIA, which is into MK Ultra, well, was into MK Ultra. They probably call it something different now. And like I said, all of these things are these mind control, satanic ritual abuse, trauma based mind control are leading into the technological sphere, right? And part of this trauma is bleeding out on the internet now. It's already
Hmm.
out. Places like social media, Facebook, Instagram, and others, they did the research, right?
Hmm.
They know that you would get addicted to their platforms, all right? And Facebook was a CIA program called LifeLog, and
Yeah, remember that? Mm.
the day Facebook went up, LifeLog went down, right? And you do the research in that's a whole another long explanation. But do your research into that. And so now people are addicted to Facebook. Common sense people too. It's not about dumb people because usually the magic, the NLP usually works on people with simple minds. But people with high IQs are addicted to this stuff, and some of them cannot let go of it. Right? I have a Facebook profile, but I use it to spread my information about my program, my graphics, or But I
Yeah, I
don't.
don't have anything of personal stuff on there too, because
Yeah.
we know the routine in the back end of it.
Right. Right.
Actually, I just turned 100. If you look at my Facebook profile,
Hey,
I look
hey.
good, right?
I live in Greece.
Very nice. Which island is that?
I can't even pronounce it. I just picked a random, you know.
That's Greek to me.
Yeah. So here's the point though. It it's a form of trauma to get you addicted to all this information and the dopamine hit in your brain. That's what it's about. When you see something you like, dopamine hit. See something you don't like, let me pass that. Let me pass that. Oh, boom! Look at this. It's like one person described it as it's like you're hitting a slot machine. So that's why you scroll up on your phone, scroll down. I mean, scroll down.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's
They
like
did it
a slot
yeah,
machine,
the same way. What's next? What's next? What's next?
right?
I have found myself a couple times and caught myself doing that. It's like you're scrolling, and all of a sudden it's a half hour later, and you're just
Yes,
just one more, just one more, just one more, just one more, and
yeah,
you know, and now
yeah.
you're 90.
And it happens without you knowing it. because sometimes I go on Facebook
Yeah. Face pot.
to just check on something, something erroneous, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Your brain, because it's a false reality. So you're just
Mm.
so into it. I go on Twitter, and I don't spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I find myself spending more time because everything's so interesting.
X.
X, yeah, X, formerly known as Twitter.
Which is reminiscent of a mark in Hebrew.
I know, right?
But anyway.
Yeah. So you might be like, okay, Chris, what does this have to do with artificial intelligence? Well, Facebook is not a website; it's a database. And artificial intelligence, they have one of the most advanced artificial intelligence in that sphere. Facial recognition. It's gathering so much information, like I said in the beginning of the program, that you don't even know yourself more than they know you. And that's how they market to you. So it's ran by artificial intelligence. That's how there is a human component, but that's how they're able to shadow ban you. They put in the keywords. Don't say Trump, don't say COVID, don't say this, say that. And when you post something, even if it's a picture, they know what's on it. Okay, because artificial intelligence has the capability now to read pictures. So that's why some of you that are on there and you're like, okay, I put up a Bible verse. What's wrong with my Bible verse? They're put me in jail for a Bible verse because they have it in the algorithm. Same thing with YouTube and other platforms. Not every platform is as bad as those, but all of them are building on that technology. Let's put it that way, or that code. You know, and so that's why people jump from say Facebook to what used to be Parlor, Getter, True Social, and on and on. Telegram. Oh, by the way, follow me on my Telegram channel. I share a lot of information. So
Yeah. Go to what is that? Don't let them burn, right?
yeah, don't let them burn. Official, and so even Telegram has this addictive nature to it. I personally think Telegram, as far as addiction goes, is one of the worst because you have all of these chat groups that are just giving you some of the best information out there. I'm like, oh my goodness, you'll find this information today, a week later, the news catching on, or 6 months later, the news is
Mm.
catching on. So it's very addictive. So watch it.
Yeah,
Um,
I actually shut mine off for a little bit. So if you were on my channel, The Hidden Day, I, I just posted again a couple days ago, but I had to back off because there's so many, and not just my topics, but all the other different topics
yeah,
that are on there, and you're like, oh, that looks great. Oh, that looks great. That looks great.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's just got to meter it out.
And just like how, I got on the internet around 1999, and no, sorry, 1998. And back then news would drip, information would drip, or you look up stuff to learn or whatever. Now you can't keep up. As of like around 2010, you just can't keep up with the news. You can't keep up even with stuff that you're just learning. It's like boom, 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 boom. Oh, let me put this to the side. Let me put this to the side. Oh, that folder I haven't touched in 2 years. I forgot all about it. And you're still looking up information that's in that folder, even though you got
Hmm.
it so long ago. So it's pretty interesting. So anyway, so social media, that's a component of the artificial intelligence construct. And make no mistake. So some people are debating about Elon Musk. Is he a white hat? Is he evil and whatnot? I'm not going to put any of those labels on him. I see him as a wild card, right? Because on one hand, he's talking about free speech, and the other hand, he's not letting people speak, right?
Mm.
And then he hires somebody from the WF, World Economic Forum, for those that don't know, and he bought Twitter for an enormous amount of money. What was it? Was it in the billions?
Yeah, it's definitely
40
billions,
billion,
and it's
something
just a
like that.
platform. Yeah.
Right. So here's the key, though. Elon Musk is a technocrat. His father was a technocrat. And he's into advancing technology to where he wants to merge the brains of humans with artificial intelligence. That's
Hmm.
why he has the Neuralink company that has this. They have this thread with a nano chip on it that could the little robot will inject it into your head. It would be painless. right? And they've already tested it on animals. You could do the research on that too, or maybe there's a whole show to do on that, right?
Another show.
And here's a key that I try to tell people: whether you like Elon Musk or dislike him, the platform has always been about data.
Yeah, 100%.
Data is the most help me out here.
It is
The biggest resource in
aside from the blood of Jesus, data is the most valuable currency in the
valuable
universe.
currency. Yes,
Hmm.
not water, not human trafficking, not food, none of that stuff. Information, information, and whether you're in X Spaces, it used to be called Twitter Spaces. Whether you're in that or typing or just sharing a video, all of it is gathered. One time I was in a Twitter space, and I knew this, but I didn't think about it, And I said, okay, I don't want to speak right now. I'm gonna pause it on my phone, not pause it, but lower the volume on my phone. And I brought it up on my desktop computer, and I muted that too. And I didn't realize there was already telegraph
Teletype?
a transcript, a
Transcript. Okay.
transcript. I was reading everything they were saying in real time. I was like, man, it's more advanced than I thought it was. Just like with YouTube, when you upload your video, the AI does a transcript. It's
Yeah,
not
like
always
immediately
perfect.
as you do it.
Yeah,
Because it's looking for all the
the
bad
words.
words.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's
I
not.
have a little interesting view of Musk. Most people don't realize this, but all the nefarious um people looking to take over the world, they're not all on the same team either. They're all vying for power. And similar to, again, we jump back to Enoch, and there was three basically races of giants, and they were all fighting for power and fighting each other. We see the same thing now. So, they're all. We think the bad guys are all in on it together. No, they're fighting each other for this more power
Right.
as well. So.
Yeah. And on top of that hierarchy is Lucifer, or if you want to call him Satan, or
Yep.
whatever you name it.
And the false trinity. Yep.
Yeah, because he's building his technological kingdom in this world. And the way I describe it to people is like, think of the normal world, overlay it with a holographic copy, and that's what he's building because he wants to be like God, all seeing, everywhere, all knowing, and whatever other attributes God has. But he can't. He doesn't have God's love, and he's not God, so he can't be God. So he wants to just duplicate him just enough to fool people, and that's what they've been doing for centuries. Okay, millennias. The Earth is around 6,000 years old. Some say seven, and I believe a lot of that is true because when you go into you know, the issue of numbers, seven is the number of completion. So, you know,
Well, that would be the Sabbath day. So we'll touch on that for a second. That 1,000 year reign is the final day. So we're at the tail end of 6,000 right now,
yeah,
going into that final rest day.
hmm
It's
yeah.
all a microcosm, but that's another story.
Right. So, what we want to do now is take a small break, and we want to show you a glimpse of the history of AI. And this comes from Pastor Billy's documentary. Sorry, the attack of the drones. Skynet is coming, and so we'll get into a little bit of the Terminator stuff and whatnot. So here we go.
Artificial intelligence, or AI, speaks of the artificial intelligence or intelligent behavior exhibited by computers, computerized machines, and or software. John McCarthy is first accredited with the coining of the phrase back in 1955. The goals of AI research include reasoning, knowledge, planning, learning, natural language processing and communication, perception, and general intelligence modeled after human intelligence. In short, they want to simulate or recreate the human brain. Believe it or not, this desire for artificial intelligence has been around for quite some time. It's an idea that dates back as far as classical philosophers who attempted to describe the process of human thinking as the mechanical manipulation of symbols. In fact, mechanical men and artificial beings appear in the Greek myths, such as the golden robots of Hephaestus, among others. In fact, realistic humanoid automatons were built by craftsmen from just about every civilization, with some of the oldest known being the sacred statues of ancient Egypt and Greece. The culture of that day actually believed that the craftsmen had imbued those figures with very real minds, capable of wisdom and emotion. In fact, one of the early writers, Hermes Trismegistus, wrote that by discovering the true nature of the gods, man has been able to reproduce it. Then in the Middle Ages, there were rumors of secret mystical or alchemy means of placing minds into matter. Later in the 17th century, scientists and thinkers began to explore the possibility that all rational thought could be made as systematic as algebra or geometry. One proponent even stated, "Reason is nothing but reckoning." Then in the 19th century, ideas of artificial men and thinking machines were further developed by authors in their books such as Mary Shelley's Frankenstein or Karl Kapek's Rossmann's Universal Robots. Finally, in the 20th century, the study of mathematical logic provided the essential breakthrough that made artificial intelligence plausible. Mathematicians began to believe that mathematical reasoning could be formalized, and combined with advances in computing devices and the invention of programmable digital computers back in the 1940s, the birth of artificial intelligence began to make great strides throughout the 1940s and 50s. This is where the discussion of creating artificial intelligence took a serious tone, with many scientists from a variety of fields, mathematics, psychology, engineering, economics, and political science. They were now discussing the possibility of building an electronic brain. In fact, the official field of AI research was founded at a conference on the campus of Dartmouth College in New Hampshire in 1956. Those who attended became the leaders of AI research for decades. Many of them predicted that a machine as intelligent as a human being would exist in no more than a generation, and they were given millions of dollars to make this vision come true. It was also during the 1950s that we saw the birth of what was called the Turing test, developed by Alan Turing to test the possibility of machines being able to truly think and carry out a conversation that was indistinguishable from a conversation with a human being. If it could pass this test, according to Turing, then it was reasonable to say that the machine was thinking. Soon this thinking ability was put to test in games. Using the Ferrante Mark I machine, the University of Manchester wrote a program for checkers, and a man named Dietrich Prince wrote one for chess. They eventually achieved a great enough skill to take on a respectable player. Therefore, optimism began to grow for creating artificial intelligence, with even more government agencies like ARPA pouring money into the new field. ARPA just happens to be the same entity who developed the precursor to today's internet, known back then as ARPANET. Their name has been since changed to DARPA, which stands for the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, who is now responsible for the development of emerging technologies for use by the U.S. military. Then in June 1963, MIT received millions of dollars of funding for the newly created ARPA to further develop artificial intelligence, and to continue to receive such sums up into the 1970s. Combined with three other centers developing AI, Carnegie Mellon University, Stanford, and Edinburgh, all four institutions continue to be the main centers of AI research and funding for many years. Then in 1980, the Japanese government inspired other governments and those in the industry to provide AI with billions of dollars of funding. Soon a system called XCON was completed at CMU for the Digital Equipment Corporation. It was an enormous success that saved the company $40 million annually, with other corporations scrambling to acquire their own similar systems. The 1980s also saw the birth of CYC, which was the first attempt to crack the so-called common sense knowledge problem and create a massive database that would contain all mundane facts that the average person knows. The creators of the project stated there were no shortcuts, and that the only way for machines to know the meaning of human concepts is to teach them, one concept at a time, by hand. During this time, the Japanese government also funded what was called Fifth Generation Computer Project, which sought to build machines that could carry on conversations, translate languages, interpret pictures, and reason like a human being. Soon other companies with new programs of their own, including DARPA with its Strategic Computing Initiative, tripling its AI investments in just 5 years. Then in the late 1980s, several researchers advocated a completely new approach to artificial intelligence based on robotics. They believed to show real intelligence, a machine needs to have a body. It needs to perceive, move, survive, and deal with the world like a real human. This added fuel to the ideas of cybernetics and control theory systems for human-like intelligent robots. Throughout the 1990s on up to today, artificial intelligence has continued to grow and has actually achieved many of its oldest goals. Due to advances in increased computing power, AI is now being successfully used throughout the technology industry. In fact, in 1997, the world's first computer chess-playing system called Deep Blue, which was now 10 million times faster than the Ferranti Mark I back in 1951, actually beat a reigning world chess champion, Garry Kasparov. Then, in 2005, a Stanford robot won the DARPA Grand Challenge by driving autonomously for 131 miles along an unrehearsed desert trail. 2 years later, a team from CMU won the DARPA Urban Challenge by autonomously navigating 55 miles in an urban environment while adhering to traffic hazards and all traffic laws. Then in 2011, a Jeopardy quiz show exhibition match, IBM's question-answering machine called Watson defeated two of the greatest Jeopardy champions, Brad Reuter and Ken Jennings, by a significant margin. This dramatic increase of artificial intelligence is measured by what is called Moore's Law, which predicts the speed and memory capacity of computers doubles every 2 years. Today, the fundamental problem of raw computer power for artificial intelligence is being overcome, which is why experts are now saying true AI is just around the corner for the first time in the history of mankind. In fact, Ray Kurzweil, a computer scientist, innovator, futurist, and director of engineering at Google, predicted using Moore's Law that machines with human-level intelligence will appear by 2029. Other experts are saying that if AI is produced, it might actually be able to reprogram and improve itself, which means the improved software would be even better at improving itself, leading to ongoing self-improvement and thus new intelligence that could increase exponentially and dramatically surpass humans. This viable reality is now called singularity, describing a singular event when the accelerating progress in technologies will cause a runaway effect wherein artificial intelligence will exceed human intellectual capacity and control, thus radically changing or even ending civilization. And once again, Ray Kurzweil predicts this event will occur by 2045.
All right, so as you see there's a big history behind artificial intelligence, and it's not as new as many people think. And like I said earlier, that Chat GPT, everybody's excited about it, and everyone's using it and feeding it information, just like how you feed information to Twitter. And make no doubt, there is artificial intelligence behind Twitter or X. Sorry. And so we have a lot of movies. Again, we'll cover lot more of those movies later that taught us about artificial intelligence. Movies like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Oh, it's in Star Trek with Data. Star Trek: The Next Generation with Data. I think there was an artificial intelligence in the original series too.
Yeah, they
Um,
had one there too. I just remember Data and the nanobots, and then
mm,
they infected him, and he goes, "Pretty little life forms, where are you?"
yeah, yeah. But the space computer on the ship, it is artificial intelligence, the voice of the computer, right?
That's Majel Barrett on the, which was the nurse on the original one, and the wife of Gene Roddenberry. She was
Ah,
the voice in the next generation of the computer.
well, speaking of Gene Roddenberry, he was in contact with something called the Council of Nine. Do your research on the
Hmm.
nines. They're a hierarchy of nine supposed gods. We know that there are crazy amount of fallen angels out there, but they talk about nine, okay? And the Council of Nine has been in different civilizations, leading them. And so they gave Gene Roddenberry the idea for Star Trek. Okay. And this is going to throw some of you off, but Spock is Satan. I like Star Trek, so I'm not trying to demonize your show. Okay. I'm not trying to demonize your show. I like Star Trek, but it has an occult foundation. Okay. Now, so we have Data, who they were trying to make into pretty much a human, right? Apotheosis, where this apotheosis is where a human becomes godlike, or a machine becomes like a god, right? So first they have to uh, construct him, then feed him information to make him human-like, right? And then
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
if now Star Trek Picard was an awful uh, TV series, except for season 3. But in the first two, or is it second season? Anyway, in the seasons, they pretty much Data became human in a sense and almost godlike. And then they kind of went back to that idea in season 3, but it wasn't focused on Data
Yeah, and
because
didn't they like make Picard a robot too? They transhumanize
yes,
him.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, yes. And the funny thing is, okay, uh, why would you make a clone that's old? You
yeah,
know,
right. And their excuse was, well, we want him to just live like he normally would have. And
yeah,
then he says, "Oh, I wish you would at least give me 20 years."
exactly.
It's like, if
Right?
you're gonna do that, do it. It's just
Yeah,
a stupid concept.
yeah. And then on that in that series, the artificial intelligence that was, I think it was banned or something like that. They
Yeah.
bought this
No, that
construct,
was in the next one, um, where they had pre Kirk
and they had the Romulan and all
Discovery.
that stuff. No, no,
In
no, no. Yeah,
Discovery,
yeah,
they were
yeah, you're right about that. But in
yeah.
Picard, they had the main focus was on this artificial intelligence. It was a girl, a young girl.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, and she was created by Data's father,
right,
not
right,
the
right, right,
father
right. And she
created.
didn't know.
Yeah, right. And so so in season 3 there was a split inside of Data, two personalities, and had to get the bad one out. Just like in Next Generation, but they finally
Yeah,
got,
but that's lore.
yeah, right.
So they just recreated lore in a new fashion.
Right, right, right. So we have these concepts, and the reason why a lot of people have a hard they have a problem with the concept that demons can inhabit AI, or AI will go rogue, is because they've been fed fantasy, but the fantasy is built on reality, right? And so a lot of this information is annoying, but go back to where we began. We were Now we're in a fallen world now. After the fall, everything was corrupt, right? The animals didn't
Hmm.
eat the carnivorous animals were eating vegetable.
Yeah, everybody ate veggies
Yeah,
till Noah got off the boat. Well,
right.
except for the Nephilim, they ate each other and
I know,
humans,
right?
but that's a different story.
Yeah. So we're living in a fallen world. When God takes you out of this fallen world, not literally, when he saves you, he dissects you from the world system. And so when we see some of this information coming out, like, oh, this is witchcraft, or this superhero is a pagan god, or whatever the thing is, you're like so surprised. But why? These mythologies were before your time. Why do people always go back to the mythologies, right? They can't help but call a space shuttle Columbia. Who is Columbia? Columbia is Isis and all these other pagan names. She goes back to Babylon,
Yep.
in the
And they
in the
named
Bible,
Apollo, and they get
Apollo and all this.
everything with the gods.
Yeah, you can't escape that, right? And a lot of this stuff goes back to Babylon, right? And so a Babylonian system is also being built on top of what we call, it's not called Mystery Babylon, it's called Babylon. Babylon the Great is a mystery. So it's mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and all that stuff. So just keep that in mind too. The Babylonian system is being rebuilt, and that's why later on in the book of Revelation we see a literal, not figurative, a literal Babylon city built with a bunch of commerce, and it's not America. It's a literal place, and by
Hmm.
Revelation 18, it's destroyed. Okay,
Yeah.
and all the
And
merchants.
on that note, too, they used to have a hexadecimal numeric system instead of the 10 base that we have now. And the hexadecimal one was a 6 base, which is why you have 60 minutes in an hour,
Mhm.
360 degrees on a circle. Everything was a 6 base.
Yeah,
So if you look at that, it's not only returning back to Babylon, the real city, the
mhm.
whole system. And I think even cryptocurrencies and all this AI probably has a hexadecimal numeric system, because it's just so much more robust than the 10 base. You could do so much more with it because it's divisible by 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on when you get it to 12. Hence the 600, and then the 60, and then the 6. It's
Yeah,
not one. It's not one letter. I mean, one number.
yeah.
666. It's three different ones. 600 and 60 and 6
Mhm.
ties into a hexadecimal system, which would tie into AI and cryptocurrency and everything
Yeah,
else.
yeah. And for those of you that um don't understand supercomputing, quantum computing, and all this stuff, I'll give you a simple way to think about it. You have a sheet of paper, right? That paper has say 6 paragraphs, okay? And the computer can read that paper rather quickly, right? The artificial intelligence. Now you take a stack of paper, say a ream of printing paper, and each sheet has information on it. It can read that at the same time. Now you take that idea, open up a library of thousands or even millions of books. It can read all those books at the same time with quantum computing. This is not the same technology we had before, but now we have quantum computing, which has to be ran by AI. They even have, I think it's Bill Gates. Don't quote me on this, but I think it is. They want, or Microsoft. They want to put quantum computers on DNA. So
Yeah, the
hyper
third strand DNA.
third strand, and no one really talks about the third strand that much, but it's a real thing, and you
Okay,
find
and
it.
then again, that ties in with the whole 666. I mean, it just all
Yeah,
fits together.
yeah, and it ties into the ufology stuff and all this. It's just you can write good 10 books on this stuff, right?
Hmm.
So, all right, so let's move from that and now get into some of the drones and killer robot stuff. Okay, if you're subscribed to my channel, I'm about to do a program called "Escape from the Cities." No, "Escape from the Blue Cities." And I'm not a fearmonger. Okay, I just see things, and if God is not going to allow this to happen, then He doesn't. But what I see is all of the communist color revolutions have happening in America and around the world. But we're going to stick to America right now. It's to get them to bring in technocracy faster. Everything that happened with George Floyd and all the riots and stuff, they happened in a lot of the blue cities. They tried to bring it to my city, but we kicked them out very fast. Because people think I'm in Nevada. People think my state is blue. It's really purple. So anyway, um, they destroy buildings, and then we have these crazy things they vote in. Well, sometimes not even vote in, just made law to where people could come into any department store and steal up to no, sorry, $1,000 worth of stuff, as long no, or $999, whatever it is, and they won't get arrested. That you cannot stop them, and they're gone. So what that does is destroy the middle class in that area. Crime rises. They say they want to defund the police and all this stuff. Okay,
Yeah,
there
and then
has
they,
to
and then
be.
they cry when the store gets ripped off.
Yeah. And there has to be repercussions. Okay. Now you have in San Francisco where people are just running up to people's cars, busting the back window, whether the car is parked or almost going on the highway, busting the back window, taking whatever they want. How many of them are you going to stop? Right? Evil people are not stupid. Some of them are, but they know how to organize, right? People are coming from Europe and other places thinking they're okay. They probably didn't read any news about San Francisco what's going on. So they come to the city, they go up to the beach, which seems safe, right? Go out to the car, less than 10 minutes. Boom, broke in, took all their stuff. Okay? Except for the super heavy luggage, right? And they didn't see a thing, right? So they're organized. Crime is on the rise. New York, shooting was on the rise. You could tell me more about New York before I go on. Tell the people.
It's just the same as all the rest of the places. When they anarchy is starting to reign, and more people are just doing it, and less people care that are in authority, and actually going after some of the more decent people,
Mhm.
and that's what's really a shame. But it's the end of the age. This is what's predicted, so it's not any surprise to see this happen.
Yeah,
People, everything will be upside down. Good will be
yeah,
bad will be good, and yada yada yada.
yeah. So shootings went up there.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Chicago, which was crime ridden for many years now. We used to see that they would have like 30, 40, 50 killings every weekend, the gun violence. So after the whole 2020 thing, uh, it went up even more. Okay. And they still put in these stupid laws, right? And people still vote for the same people. Okay. So,
Oh, did
Chris,
you hear that Beetlejuice is now at Harvard teaching how to run a city
oh no, I didn't see
from
that.
Chicago?
I didn't see,
Lori
yeah,
Lori
like,
Heavyfoot
yeah.
Lightfoot.
Oh my goodness.
Can
It's
you
just,
imagine? Pay all his
yes.
money to go to Harvard.
Yeah.
They got that bozo in there.
Yeah, and notice something about a lot of these blue female leaders. Not all, but a lot of them are lesbians. Okay, and they're the same ones pushing for all this trans this and trans that, and transformers. So anyway, so Chris, what's your point? The violence went up, the robberies went up, um, the killings went up, and all this stuff, right? What's your point? Point being is they're creating an atmosphere to bring in a solution, and the solution is clearly more people in prison. But outside of that, the anarchy, you got RoboCops coming in now. And when I say RoboCops, don't think about the movie. They're literally RoboCops. There's this dome-looking robot. I can't remember the name of it right now. That New York has brought in. It was in California first. Then they have these robot dogs that are created by DARPA and MIT. Wait, I think DARPA and Boston Dynamics. Okay, they tested these robots in Singapore when the Kung flu came in. Okay, and what it was doing was telling people, "Citizen, get off the street." Blah 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 blah. Right. So they used them to patrol the parks in Singapore, and they used them in other places too. Remember when this thing broke out? This whole 2020 thing. They used drones to surveil people in Europe, even when they
Mm-hmm.
were in the middle of nowhere. Okay, a lot of people forget this stuff though. And so New York brought in the cone looking, what I call the dialects from Doctor Who. You ever seen
A
Doctor Who?
Dalek.
Yeah. So
Exterminate.
they bought those in. They bought in the robot dogs, and they bought in something called a GPS gun, which pretty much, if you're an officer and the person is trying to leave, you just hit the car with the gun, and they won't even know. So those three technologies, and now they're talking about bringing in these drones that would help police officers. In fact, there's something called an AI patrol car, no humans in it, just like in Transformers, the first Transformers movie, right? And so this is how they'll gain more control over the population. And if you destroy one of these things, oh, you're going to pay a hefty fine. Okay, so they have the Daleks patrolling airports and city streets, and it's not everywhere, but it's just the test. Okay,
It's a start. It's like the seatbelt laws.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
first it was just an add-on, and then all of a sudden they're pulling everyone over for him.
yeah, so what I was going to call the show was Escape from New York. to kind of talk about the
Yeah,
movie,
I think that's been taken.
and so since it's not just escape from New York or escape from LA, it's escape from the blue cities, because eventually this will be become so commonplace, it's going to be like the Fifth Element, or
You could
what is
call it out of the blue.
okay, no. But you got the Fifth Element with the robots. You got, what's the one with Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes? Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, and he made like 6 of them.
I don't know if they made a sequel, but basically it was a dystopian,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy went away for years, and when he woke up, he they brought him back to the police force, and everyone was just kind of dumbed down a little bit, kind of ridiculous. And
Mm-hmm.
they followed the book to the T, and they couldn't catch real criminals like the one that escaped, because he was from the 80s, and now you're like, he's coming out of cryo sleep. He's like, he's one of the worst villains from back in the 80s, and now he's just doing stuff that you wouldn't think he would do. And then you have
Mm-hmm.
the people underground that were the normal people. What's it called? A surf class?
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave you a picture of how the elites would run the top, and the rest of us on the bottom, just like the movie The Time Machine. Okay, The Time Machine was written by H.G. Wells, and H.G. Wells was a communist. So here goes another nugget for you. A lot of these, okay, try to be careful. Not all of these ideas are communist. Okay, but from the communist satanic construct, you get a lot of these books. H.G. Wells, Huxley, and all these people, they were communists, and they were God haters. So it's a very cool structure of writing books that were, a lot of them inspired, not all, a lot of them though were inspired by demons. And later on, we can get into comic books and how some of those were inspired by demons, how many Satanists are in the comic book industry, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so now we have that framework of the future, and we have this movie that came out in the 80s by James Cameron, which he stole the idea from a TV writer, I believe, Terminator. And Terminator has to do with this robot that's hunting down this other guy from the future, and AI is taking over the future. It's called Skynet. America has a Skynet already, and China has a Skynet. You could go do the research on that. And I'm not saying that the movie got the idea from what's going on now. I don't know why it's called Skynet or why those are called Skynet. I don't have proof that it's intertwined. So anyway, the Terminator was a killer robot, and they had many of these killer robots in the future, and that's why humanity was almost wiped out. So they sent back this, you know, long story. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we're gonna play a video detailing some of the history of Skynet, and so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. Here we go.
Skynet was a fictional computer system developed for the US military in the Terminator movies, and was supposed to function as a global defense network that would have command over all computerized military hardware, systems, planes, bombers, and of course, the entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. The premise was that Skynet would remove the possibility of human error, as well as the slow reaction time to guarantee a fast, efficient response to enemy attack, and of course, protect us from the dreaded cyber attacks. But the problem was Skynet began to learn at a geometric rate, and it actually gained self-awareness. In other words, it became artificial intelligence. It then tricked humanity into giving it full control of the global computer system via a false cyber attack, and realizing this a little too late, the operators of Skynet panicked. Realizing the extent of its abilities, tried to deactivate it, but failed. So Skynet obviously perceived this attack as a threat, and came to the conclusion that all of humanity would attempt to destroy it. Therefore, to defend itself against humanity, Skynet launched nuclear missiles under its command at Russia, which then of course responded with a nuclear counterattack, and the world went up in smoke basically. This event was labeled as Judgment Day. Following Judgment Day, Skynet used its mechanized robots to track down, collect, and/or kill any remaining human survivors, which is what the Terminator movies are all about. Repeated attempts of the last human survivors going back in time to try to stop this event, this so-called Judgment Day, with Skynet and its machines in hot pursuit with their own countermeasures going back into time to stop humanity from stopping them.
All right. Wasn't that a mouthful? But
That's what I was going to say.
that's the whole premise, right? We have a cornucopia of information, timelines, projections that show that that is a very possible outcome. However, once you stick to the Bible, there's nothing to be afraid of if you're a Christian, right? The
That's right. Because
world,
this whole narrative is basically, you know, Satan fantasizing. But we know the truth
yes,
because I mean, clearly with all the different prophecies that have already come true, we can only expect that the future ones will come true exactly as they have said as well. So we
yeah,
can have our faith and our trust in the fact that Jesus will return and straighten this whole mess out. And it's going to be wonderful.
absolutely. Jesus pretty much said that if he didn't return when he did, meaning the second coming, Revelation 19, all humanity would be wiped out. But he didn't get specific about how. We can speculate and be probably a little accurate that artificial intelligence is going to play a role in that. But we also have the wrath of God pouring out from the beginning of the tribulation, not in the midpoint, from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, right? So you have to deal with the wrath of God, which will punish anyone that that isn't saved. The whole plan for the 7 year tribulation is about the Jewish people and them returning to the Messiah, God's wife. The church is Jesus, he's God, but Jesus, bride. So Israel, God's wife, the church, Jesus' bride. So you have to get those two things straight.
Amen.
And there's two elects, the Jewish people and then the church. So don't confuse the two elects. It's another deep study.
Yep,
So
that's a whole nother one.
so um so that's what Jesus said. Before he returns, all flesh should be destroyed. Okay? So humanity is not going to get wiped out because after he returns, there's a millennium kingdom, which is it's a great study. Plenty of hope. So if you're a Christian, you will be raptured. If you don't believe in that, please do deeper study.
Yeah,
Right?
we'll explain it on the way up.
Yeah. And so a lot of these things are definitely happening. You don't have to be afraid of artificial intelligence. Now, if you're not saved, artificial intelligence is irrelevant to your eternity, right?
Mm.
You could die
Yeah, I
tomorrow.
think that's a good key and a really great way to wrap up our reboot intro is to say that you don't need to be afraid of all this. We tell you this so you know what to look for and so you know where to go because Jesus is our strong tower and our refuge and he's our strength and he hides us under his wings. There's lots of different metaphors that show we don't have to be there and it is for the judgment so people will repent and then turn to him. So if you do that now, you can go to the wedding supper with us. It'll be cool. If not, there's a little chaos ahead. If you're watching this after the rapture, listen, just turn to the Lord and yeah, it's going to be ugly for a little bit, but trust me, at the end, you'll be glad you'll just received him, regardless of what the world and Satan does.
Right. Absolutely. And I always want to end with a message of hope, but I just, honing in on you guys that are not saved and skeptical and all this stuff, just try God. He will answer you. Okay. Because he wants you to come to him with a pure heart, whether you heard the gospel message from us or from a preacher, or you're on some not an island, but you're in some foreign country and you never heard about Jesus Christ, he could still meet you there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of people that are going to get saved in the 7 year tribulation. However, there's a lot of people that are going to die too. They're
Yeah.
know?
And it's black and white at that point. It's you're going to be with Jesus or you're going to be dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's simple as that. We're not there yet. We're not
Mhm.
in the tribulation yet, but it's going to get to that point.
Yeah.
Well,
And don't gamble. Don't gamble your eternity on your skepticism on
mm,
well, the Bible says homosexuality is wrong. Okay. Well, you're still gambling just because you don't believe in God because of the homosexuality. You're still gambling with your eternity. God is holy. We are not. Simple.
mhm. Yep.
That's-
I think that's a real important thing. Realize our mortality, knowing that He is a creator and outside of all time and space, and you've been here probably less than 100 years.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very possible. All is because again, we have a cornucopia of information
Yeah.
that's showing the trajectory. You know, whether we can go from Bill Gates all the way to doggone WEF. It's everywhere. And for those of you that are looking for things to turn around, I am too. However, I'm looking for Jesus Christ to return more than that, right?
Hmm.
And so, whether you're looking for this great awakening or you're looking for normalcy again, whether normalcy comes or not, the 7-year tribulation is still coming. The
Hmm.
world's still going to get darker, and so that would only last for a little bit anyway. So
Correct.
with all that, I'm just saying we're born in sin, and heed to the gospel today.
Yep. Yep. So that is it for this exciting show. And trust me, that's just the beginning. When we get into it, it'll be even more fascinating. And it's all to point you to the fact that Jesus is Lord, regardless of everything else that's going on. So, Lord willing, we will see you next time if we're still here on AI Weirdness. You guys have a blessed day. Bye.
All right.